Hello guys, welcome to a new video. For this one I thought I would do a quick little review of the Kuretake Mangaka flexible fine liners. That is a little bit of a jumble, so I'll try not to say it too much, but I've spoken to a couple of artists lately who have never used these pens, so I thought it might be useful for me to put together a little video just demoing how they work in case anyone was thinking of trying them. So a lot of these supplies aren't available locally for a lot of people, including me, and so you don't get the chance to try things before you buy them, and sometimes you're a little bit worried about whether or not they'll work for you. So hopefully my reviews can help you out. I'm hoping to come up with a lot more, so let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see. But for now, the Mangaka Flexible are an offshoot of the Zig Mangaka range, which are a selection of standard fine liners in various different sizes. So what sets these ones apart, as you can probably guess from the name, is that they have a flexible nib. So this isn't a brush tip, it's kind of a good compromise between a fine liner and a brush marker, because the tip is, I think it's rubber. It's a strange kind of compromise between a normal nib and a flexible one, because you feel like you still have a lot of control over it. I struggle a lot with brush markers, and I'll be the first to admit that. I bought a Pentel brush pen, and I have nothing against the Pentel brush pen, I'm just really bad at using it. So I find that because it's actually constructed of bristles, it's like trying to draw with a paintbrush, which is something that I cannot do, which I discovered through quite a few attempts, and I'm sure I'll get there with practice, but for now it's something that I'm not very good at. And so these pens really do provide a good compromise and a good bridge for if you want to move into using a brush pen but you're just kind of a bit scared. So you can get a really nice effect that looks like it came from a brush pen, but effectively you're using a more simple fine liner. This also means that they're really good for if you're travelling or moving around or doing commissions at a convention and so on, because then you only have to carry one pen instead of a whole collection of fine liners. So I love using fine liners in various different sizes for my artwork. I'm a big fan of the Staedtler fine liners, and I do use the general Kuretake Mangaka pens as well. But sometimes you don't want to carry the whole set with you and you can only carry one pen. Well, that's where this comes in really handy, because you can achieve those really great line variations with just one pen. And hopefully you can see that in the video that I've got showing. I've tried to show some close-up shots as well as distance shots so you can get a real idea of the kind of variation I can get with just the one or two strokes. I would recommend not going over one or two strokes because you can start to pull the paper up a little bit. You can mostly see it in the second picture with the sepia pen. I did go over the line a few too many times and the paper starts to feather a little bit. Now this is a very heavy duty paper. This is the Daler-Rowney mixed media paper, but even under that it started to feather just a little bit and the pen started to just bloom across the paper a tiny bit, if you know what I mean. So I would recommend avoiding going over the paper too many times because you don't want to saturate it too much, but fortunately the good thing with these pens is that you don't need to do that. You just need to go one or two times to get the effect that you're after. These pens come in black and sepia and in two different sizes, which is fine and medium. For these two illustrations I just use the fine size. I do have the medium, but I very rarely use them because I can achieve most of the line width that I want with the fine. But the medium is useful if you tend to draw at a larger scale, or if you're emphasising parts of your drawing and you want them to come more towards the foreground, or if you're drawing borders around your image and so on. So it's really useful to have both sizes, but for me personally I could probably get away with just having the fine pen. The ink in these pens is pigment based, it's very opaque. You can't tell as much with the black, but with the sepia I found it creates a really nice effect. So if you go over the line again, it darkens the colour, and so you can build up from an average sort of warm sepia tone to a more dark brown, and so that can be really effective if you're wanting to build up tones just in your line art and maybe you're not adding colour, or maybe you're just wanting to add more depth and dimension before you add the colour. The speed of the line you make will affect the look of the line, so what you can see when I'm drawing the hair that the line comes out slightly more broken because the speed that I'm drawing at means that the texture of the paper shows through more. So I do often tend to go back over those lines with a more slow and steady line to kind of build up that colour into a more opaque look again. Also, obviously, the type of paper that you're using will affect how the line looks. It will look much smoother if you use a smooth paper. Personally, I tend to use these pens on a more textured paper, so like I said, this is the Data Rowney mixed media paper, and it's got a very textured surface, and so that does impact how the pen looks. You can also see the variation between a newer pen and an older one in the two illustrations, because the first one was done using a brand new pen, the second one I've had for quite a while. So you can see the texture of the paper coming through much more strongly where the pen is starting to dry out. So this in turn can create a fairly interesting look if that's what you're going for, but obviously just the environment you're working on, the paper and the tools you're using with it will affect the use of the pen. Now, the really good thing about these is that they're suitable for use with markers and watercolours, so you don't have to think before you start your illustration exactly what tools you're going to use to colour it, because I have been going more into mixed media work lately, and so I don't want to stop halfway through my illustration and think, oh hang on, I can't use this because I used that pen. So it's really nice to have that freedom right at the start of the process to just use this pen, and then whatever you decide to use through the colouring process, you can use it. And in my experience, they haven't smudged at all with any of those mediums. They really do stay put once you've put them down, and so that is really good for how well they last. I was really impressed with that, especially considering the price. So speaking of the price, these generally sell for $1.95 or around that mark here in the UK. I think they're about the same in the US, so hopefully they will be easily accessible for most of you. You can buy them direct from Kuretake or various other art suppliers, so they're pretty accessible for new artists or people who don't necessarily have the budget to splash out on high-end art supplies. And that's another reason why I think they're a really good compromise, because as well as being a good compromise between a general fine liner and a brush pen, they do have a price point that is easy for you to access. I really hope this video was useful to you. Please do let me know what you think, if there's anything else you'd like to know about these pens, or if there's anything else in particular you would like me to review. I am very new to the whole reviewing art supplies thing, but hopefully I can do a good enough job to help you out a little bit. So please do let me know what you'd like to see in the future, and thank you for stopping by to take a look at this video. I hope to see you next time. Bye!